Yes. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regular council meeting of Monday, January the 13th. I, on behalf of council, would like to extend a belated, yet we're only not yet halfway through January, but a happy new year to all of you in the room and watching online, and to wish you all a 2025 full of good health and wellness. I'd like to thank our staff for all of their efforts over the past year, and thank you for the momentum from council as well as we roll into this new and exciting fresh year, which is super exciting. And of course, our thoughts are with our friends in California right now. What a terribly tragic time for residents down there. So I'd just like to convey our heartfelt well wishes to everyone. Okay, on that note, council, I do wish to begin tonight's meeting and recognize that we are gathered tonight on the territories of the Tsawo-Kashano Nations. And let us begin by approving tonight's agenda, please. Moved by Councillor Pearson, seconded by Beddoes. All those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Meeting minutes here for adoption of December the 9th. Moved by Councillor Bateman, seconded by Councillor Pearson. Any questions or corrections? Seeing none, all in favor? And that too is carried unanimously. And that brings us to item 5, report of our Chief Administrative Officer. We have a written report, but I'll hand it over to our CAO, Rachel Gray.
Thank you, Mayor Tate. Not much to add to the report. It was just want to thank Miss Christina for doing up the summary for us, the annual summary. It's always nice to kind of, when I reflect back on how we started 2024, no permanent CAO, chaos everywhere, and how we ended 2024, it was night and day. And so it was really exciting to see this, a summary kind of more from the staff level of things that were important to us. And I hope that the community reading this will read this and understand, like, we're listening to you, council's listening to you, what your priorities are, we're making our priorities, we're putting money and resources, staffing, whatever it is into these areas, whether it's roads, whether it's environmental, whether it's the emergency management piece. There's so many layers to all of these things. And I think this is kind of a good summary that will tag on along with the annual report to just highlight all the different areas that we are tackling in the district here. It's a lot of work and it involves a lot of people, and just really appreciate the community's patience and understanding as we're working through all this. I hope they can understand, like, why is something taking so long? Well, as you see, there's a lot of things going on in a lot of different departments, and sometimes other things are a bigger priority. But again, looking forward to 2025 and starting the year off with a lighter agenda here tonight, and then hit the ground running for the rest of the meeting, or sorry, the rest of the year, getting into budget conversations very quickly here, and we'll go from there. But yeah, just thank you to council and the community and to staff for just working together and supporting each other to accomplish all that we did last year, and really looking forward to working with everybody throughout the year here. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions for our CAO? Sure. Go ahead, Councillor Bateman.
Well, and thank you right back to you for your leadership and the team. I think we're, if this is the correct expression, locked and loaded for the year ahead. And thank you very much, and particularly for these fulsome reports that you routinely now provide council. I had a question. This is not on your in your report, but the new speed readers. I'd like to hear about those.
Sure. Just full disclosure, my first day back from vacation. So I know that we had them on order before I left, and obviously they've come. I don't know if Christina can maybe fill in a bit of the details, because I know they were on order for quite a while, back ordered for a bit here. So I'll let her fill in some specifics.
Thank you. So 4 of the units, I believe, have been installed. We're just waiting for confirmation from the supplier and doing the testing. And then we do have a press release that will be going out to highlight some of the features. So they not only provide some education on speed, they also track traffic counts. So there's a lot of data that we can acquire in real time, and we could acquire that information through the cloud, which is really exciting. We don't have to go out to site. So each location that they're in, and as people will see in the news release, if there's other locations that the community would like to see these boards in, we're always keen to receive that feedback, and we'll hopefully have some more in and around the community.
So there's 4 of them, and they're mobile. They're not mobile.
They're semi-mobile, these units. So they are installed. We can rotate them, but the intent is for them to be there in the locations that they're in for a prolonged period of time.
So quick note, I was excited to check my speed driving over here tonight, and the one on Grant Road is not working at the moment. So you knew that. Okay. The other thing relates to the LA wildfires. Okay, so meanwhile in Souk, just today, I think it was, someone wrote, watching the LA wildfires tragedy makes me so horribly concerned about family and friends living in Souk. So there were 250 comments on that. The one that's leading off the thread says, yeah, we'd all burn in gridlock. So I think it's important to get the message out to the people that in fact we do have. Anyway, I'll throw that over. Yeah.
Yeah, through your worship, that's definitely something we can work on, the comms, and clarify while we're not under the Old Man wildfire, a different kind of chaos is make sure people understand the whole 72-hour rule and all of that, and just provide a bit more clarity, get Chief Kennedy to provide a bit more clarity, and maybe Chief Deputy McRae or something to provide a bit of Q&A session maybe, or something like that on just kind of what that could look like, or if there's some information we can share from the province as well. And but you know, no, nobody would just die in gridlock. I'm sure people would figure a way out of here. This has come up multiple times. So yeah, well, definitely we can work on some comms around that and just kind of clarify before, you know, any other fires or anything pop up this year, and just keep going with that messaging and personal responsibility.
Find a way to get messaging onto Facebook. Twitter is such a problematic medium to the point where who is it? The BC Local Government Management Association has pulled from Twitter based on the grounds that is quote unquote not a suitable medium for local government, for local governments in BC, or at least as far as they're concerned. And I know we have a fantastic Twitter feed. It is a thing of great wonder. It's loaded, but it's not reaching through to the vast mass of social media users on Facebook.
Yeah, and through your worship, I think that's something definitely we can talk with council about and get the majority. My own personal opinion about doing district business on Facebook, and it usually very quickly turns into a negative vortex of misinformation. But I appreciate what you're saying. And is Facebook the one? Are we dating ourselves by Facebook? I don't know. My son doesn't even have a Facebook. So it's something to talk about, and staff time and resources and the content and how that works. And but yeah, we could definitely bring council back some information on that if that's something that you want us to look into more seriously.
It'll require a motion probably. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Beddoes.
Yeah, my question's on the speed signs. One, they drive me crazy because 40 kilometers along Grant Road, I find is terribly slow for me. But that's my problem, I guess. It certainly catches your attention, but I'm interested to see what data does it collect? Other than how many are going too fast, which would be about 90% of them. But I asked that question for interest because a lot of people say Big Brother's watching, so I asked that question.
So speed and traffic counts, and then it'll populate reports for us in the 85th percentile for if they're and broken down by time of day.
Okay.
So
And
every 15 minutes, but like I said, they need to be calibrated, as Councillor Bateman pointed out. So
okay, and we will get those reports. I'd be interested to see what how many actually go 40 clicks on that stretch of road. I find it difficult to keep it at 40. I do. Just everybody write that down. But boy, it just feels like I'm crawling, but that's just my own preference. I thought it's a sort of a main road, relatively straight, that it should be 50, but it's not. It's 40, and therefore I'm obligated to do the speed limit. But it sure lets you know. Big lights. So anyways.
Does not track who the driver is.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say, just to clarify, there's no personal
Thanks,
information
Mike.
recorded.
Thanks.
It's just would
Yeah.
be feed and counts and
Yeah,
data
okay,
that
I
we can
appreciate
use and time of day. So, for us data geeks, it'll be very interesting to
Yeah.
analyze it and see if there's peaks and valleys
Thanks for that. Anyways, they are big and they're bright and they get your attention. And I guess that's the idea.
Councillor Pearson.
Not to beleaguer the point of speed signs. Wonderful addition, particularly on Grant Road. So thank you for that. I'd like to understand the feedback from the residents in those areas. Like, is there a mechanism through the chair to our corporate communications manager?
Well, I will share early feedback is very positive because we've received several emails thanking us for installing them. So that's very positive.
Yeah.
Especially in the Grant Road, in particular, given that it's the wildlife in the area. So
Yeah, I mean, they resulted to putting up their own signs, Fawns Crossing. And I'd be interested to know if they think that these signs are having an effect. I too, have been subject to the flashing, telling me to slow down. But, having had a house on Grant Road at the far end, people cutting through from West Coast Road, that sign should be almost like where it's at, should be also on the other side of the road, because that's a big speed warp coming off the highway, coming up that first hill. Because my house was actually right where that sign was, where that flashing new sign is there now. So good work. And I'd like to hear back from the residents to see what their feedback is. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And I think just on that, it's also data that we can share with the RCMP on what we're noticing are certain times so that they can also deploy resources accordingly, potentially. And just to comment back on the emergency management, that conversation started in the summer when the fire did break out. Also, I think the scary one for me was steeplechase, because we knew that no fire is a good one, but the one at Soup Potholes was moving away from structures and humans, and this one was right in the heart of the highly densely populated part of our community. Was suppressed quickly, but I think that's where we do have the emergency planning. So perhaps something like the Fire Smart workshops that we done that were very popular, there could be some sort of an open house or Q&A just to showcase that every event will take a different approach depending on the time of year, what it is, where it is, and so forth. But it's a good conversation. And so thank you for raising that. And then again, with social media, I think it's a good question to raise during budget deliberations, because if we were to examine that, we would need to dedicate a staff person to be online, doing all of that work. So, because you need to be on top of everything all the time. So is that how we want to spend tax dollars?
Jump in if you want.
No, because I'm just commenting back. It's not here for debate. It's something just to think of, but I think budget deliberations and resourcing is a good time for that. Okay, so on that, motion here is that council receive the report of the CAO for information, please. Moved by Councillor Beto, seconded by Pearson, all in favor, and that's carried unanimously. Thank you. We're moving on to public question and comment period. So I would like to invite members of our audience that are here tonight, if anyone would like to comment on items on tonight's agenda. And if so, please come to the microphone, turn it on, give us your name, the item you wish to speak with on, and we have about 10 minutes set aside, 2 minutes per guest. You don't need to all run to the microphone, but everyone's good. Look at that. Thank you for being with us tonight. We always value having folks in the audience with us. Okay, so that takes us to our consent agenda. So council, we have just the one item, correspondence. Is anyone looking to remove any item of correspondence? Councillor Pearson.
Yeah, I've got a fairly extensive list here.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, 4D. Sorry, I thought you said
Appointment of the-
40D,
I-
4D. So-
No, it's just, there was a couple,
Okay,
couple of interesting nuggets.
so 2B, 4D, 6F,
9I,
9I,
11K,
11K, 18F.
18F. Yeah, and I'll drop the 28G.
Okay, so
I think, well, no, the 28G, I think that's kind of self-explanatory there, but that's the AVICC.
that's, yeah. Okay, so Counselor Pearson is removing those, so those will all come to the next regular council meeting. And so on that, I would like to ask that everything else be received and filed. So I'll look for, I'm not doing this correctly, but basically we can adopt the correspondence. Okay, moved by Counselor Bateman, seconded by Beddoes. All those in favor? It's carried unanimously because that's the only item on the agenda. Okay, into our report section next, please. The first one up is 8.1, a Little River Pedestrian Crossing Tender Award.
Perfect, thank you. Through your worship to council, on December 4th, 2024, the district closed the tenders for the Little River pedestrian crossing. We were in receipt of 8 tenders. All of them were audited for errors and omissions. All tenders were compliant, low bids ranging from approximately 1.43 million to high bids at 2.61 million. We're bringing this forward to council. Recommendation is before council for consideration to award to the low bid Rager Contracting Limited.
Okay, thank you. Questions from members of council? Go ahead, Counselor Bateman.
Yeah,
Pearson.
so thank you for that. I'm curious, given the correspondence I pulled back in December, which spoke to long-term cost savings that would be realized through a grid system as a foundation for the steep sections to retain the gravel surface, suggestion of fencing at certain spots or a gravel and grid system, and the need for benches along the steeper parts. Were you able to incorporate that into the winning bid?
Yes, through your worship to Councillor Bateman. So the optional items that you alluded to, those were all put within the bid prices, so it's within the award amount.
Or Counselor Pearson, go ahead.
Yes, through the chair to our director of engineering. What's circulating around and going back to social media is the actual cost. And I know I've seen ours. Is there a way through engineering and corporate communications to share what our share is? Because it's, people are looking at the big number. Why aren't you spending that on the bypass? That's the big question that's out in the community right now. So I don't need a breakdown. I don't think I was going to ask you for that. Maybe that is a good thing, but I think at some point we need to have a clear message around what is it that we're paying for, what has been funded by grant funding, and what is the, 2 million sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. However, when you're doing a project of this nature, what are the benefits back to Councillor Bateman saying? So I don't really have a question in there. Is there a good way for us to communicate what it's costing us, the District of Sucan taxpayers? Can we break that out?
We can, so I'm just doing some calculations. So 1.3 million is an active transportation grant from the federal government. 500,000 came through from the province, so that leaves 136,139 funded through casino funds, DCCs, our Growing Communities Reserve Fund, and the Demonville Watershed Reserve Fund. So at this point, there is no taxes paying for this project. It was always meant to be grant contingent, and we were fortunate to score these grants.
And it's important that we break it out in, just as you did, and share that in the communication. So through the chair to our corporate communications manager. I'd like to hear from you.
Thank you. Yes, based on the decision of tonight, we'll be issuing a press release that will communicate that to the public. In addition, I've certainly seen the commentary as well that you're referring to. So I'm working with our finance team to put together some related information on the district's process associated with grant applications that provide some education, in particular for this situation where we applied for multiple active transportation grants. The Through Road Connector in this case would not be eligible for the funding stream that we applied for. So I've got some materials that will be going out likely by Friday. One is a FAQ sheet on this topic around the grants, and also just general, some helpful information that guide the decisions as to the resources that go into grant applications, and also how we select what grants we choose from. And to Ms. Gray's opening remarks, that's anchored in our citizen budget survey, and what we hear from the community's priorities are where we also align resources in our grant applications. So that will be coming out by Friday. Stay tuned.
No, thank you very much for that. The other part is that this has been a long time coming now. So I think we started this whole vision of this trail connection 2018 with the then Parks and Trails Committee that existed at that time, I believe. And then I remember we finished the first one and we did the Sunfish Crosswalk. That was the students at Poye had voted on. I don't quite remember the year. I should have looked it up. 2019, it was pre-COVID. I'm pretty sure it was. And then I just appreciate everyone's dedication to seeing this through. I think it's also important because what I keep hearing is, why are we spending so much of that on a bridge? And the bridge is a very small part of this overall project. So anyone that has been on site would understand the topography and then the challenges there. I've also heard that we shouldn't be putting humans into bear territory, but arguably all of us in this community are within bear territory regularly, and coexisting is an important part of being successful, of successfully living in Sooke. And also with this particular area, like the focus is school children and creating safe corridors. And I've heard from some that when they were young, they were able to go all over Sooke. So in the late 90s, when we had under 5,000 humans living in this community, there's over 16,000 humans and growing in this community now. So the roads are busier than they were probably back in the late 90s, I would assume, just given the volume that you hear about. And also when you look at what the vision is and what is happening in that particular area. So the multi-use gaming area that council endorsed a year or so ago is currently under construction. The sport box is used regularly, maybe not during the day when kids are in school, but certainly I've seen activity throughout there. And the school district does plan to put a new school on their parcel of lands. So there's going to be, it's a small busy recreational area. And of course you have a very popular, one of our only Sun River allotment gardens in that area below. And then we've done work on the river system as well. So having controlled access through these wild areas is very important, as well as the signage on the territory and the land, the origin and the history, as well as all the creatures that we are fortunate to have within our community here. So it's interesting because I don't know how many comments there were, and yet I appreciate those that are in chambers here and nothing. But we've been working at this diligently for almost 10 years now. So it's exciting to actually hit this milestone and continuing. So for some that drive, maybe you don't like it, but I know that there's a large volume of school children that are very excited to have the ability to move around community, to visit their friends, to go to the library, to meet at places after school, to potentially go to the Sooke Family Resource Center for the teen hangout that's going to be opening, other programming in the library, and others who just want to be able to bike or walk safely throughout Sooke. It's not pleasant cycling up the highway. Like when it's busy, it's just not an enjoyable ride. This is a game changer and it's quicker, safer. So thank you. I just wanted to share those pieces, but I look forward to the media releases getting out to clarify is some of the incorrect information that's floating about. We've been very transparent about the work that we've been doing for the last decade. Councillor Beddoes.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank Councilor Pearson for bringing that up about where the money's coming from, because even though I remember various parts of it, it's nice to have a refresher that that money was all on grants, and I give our staff kudos for that. The other thing is having gone through Sun River in the last little while, that's a good chunk of our population of Sioux. And to have another route that kids or youth or people walking, or with the mobility features that are available today that weren't around 10 years ago with these scooters and e-bikes and things like that, that's got to take cars off the road. And that was one of our main goals, was to try and make people have the ability to get around this community without having to go down Phillips Road, which, like other roads, it's not exactly pedestrian friendly. And to have them come the back way, the safe route. And I think the wild animals know enough to give us a bit of a wide berth, and we give them a wide berth. So I applaud it. I think it's a step in the right direction, and thanks for staff and everybody for making that happen.
I understand there will be a shovel ceremony at groundbreaking. So that's being planned. So council, stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, the recommendation is, oh, yep, go ahead.
Yeah, so quick note on the timeline, please. I think work begins in February. Is that
Sooner.
Yeah, through your worship to Councillor Bateman, the initial work will be some of the clearing of the trees, and then ultimate substantial completion through fall 2025.
And my one comment would be, in terms of promoting an active community, health being the best preventative medicine going, that we have a pretty world-class walking route now with that additional piece. Because Carolyn and I were out walking on the weekend, and we were at Journey Middle School, and we could have taken a left and then up and down and over to the river, and it's phenomenal, really. Thank you.
Okay, so the recommendation is that council award the Little River pedestrian crossing contract to Rieger Contracting Limited in the amount of $1,943,749.30, excluding GST. Moved by Councillor Beddoes, seconded by Pearson. Any comments on the motion, Councillor Beddoes?
No.
Pearson? Nope. All those in favor then? And that too is carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, second one is 8.2, and this is 2045 Maple Avenue subdivision application, cash in lieu of parkland dedication.
Good evening, Council. Through the chair, I'll present the report for 2045 Maple Avenue, proposal for cash in lieu of parkland dedication. So the district received a subdivision application in 2021 for an 8-lot Bearland Strata subdivision at the subject property. Subdivisions creating 3 or more lots must provide either 5% parkland or a cash in lieu equivalent in accordance with Section 510 of the Local Government Act. Typically, parkland acquisition decisions are made by council upon receipt of a subdivision application or in conjunction with issuance of a development permit. This property received a development permit in January 2023 that contemplated the cash in lieu, and it's just now coming to council for decision tonight. They retained a report from professional real estate appraisers DR Cole and Associates to provide an appraisal report using a direct comparison approach. The report provides the retrospective market value of the property as it was on January 9th, 2023, when the preliminary layout assessment was issued by our approving officer. As though the land was zoned for the use prior to any works and services necessary for the subdivision. And that estimated value, as determined by the report, was $1,130,000. So 5% of that total value equals $56,500. District Financial Services and the approving officer here have reviewed the report and confirmed the methodology and conclusions are acceptable. And as the property is not identified in the Parks and Trails Master Plan or our official community plan as being desirable for park land dedication, park staff are supportive of receiving the cash in lieu of parkland to be deposited into the district's Parkland Reserve Fund. And that's to be used for future parkland acquisitions solely. So staff are recommending that council direct staff to accept $56,500 for cash in lieu of parkland dedication as per section 510 of the Local Government Act for subdivision application ENG 03888 at 2045 Maple Avenue. Thank you.
Okay, over to Councillor Pearson.
I'm recommended action. The council direct staff to accept 56,000 in cash for Lewis Parkland. Application as per. Ditto. That, what I just said, that the council directs staff to accept $56,500 in cash in lieu of parkland dedication as per section 510 of Local Government Act for ENG 03888 2045 Maple Avenue.
So it's moved and seconded by Councillor Beddoes. Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor
No.
Pearson, Councillor Beddoes,
No, straightforward.
Councillor Bateman?
Yeah, I would have jumped in with a few questions, but that's fine. My comments would be that this is not just a matter of wall-to-wall housing on this property. There are 8 lots. They have the zoning, I think, says 50% lot coverage. Perhaps if I was allowed a question, I would have found that out. And I think the amenity area would remain 8% of the lot. So good, thank you.
So amenity area, I think that just puts some concerns to rest, just what you've shared there, Councillor Bateman, that the lot coverage and the amenity area, amenity area still allows for residents. I'm trying to, you're helping me recall this in my mind here about what was planned through the rezoning. Because sometimes it's always like you want to get the parkland because everyone is saying the parks are busy and overcrowded. But in this case, the zoning covered off some of those elements. Okay, anything else on the motion? All those in favor then? Opposed, that's carried unanimously. Okay, we'll move into item 9, which is our bylaw section. These are both here for adoption. The first one being the Board of Variance bylaw. And that is that council adopt the bylaw cited as Board of Variance bylaw number 919/2024. So moved by Councillor Bateman and seconded by Beddoes. All those in favor? That's carried unanimously. And the second one is that council adopt the bylaw cited as zoning amendment bylaw number 915-600-107/2024. Moved by Councillor Beddoes and seconded by Bateman. Thank you. All those in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. There's no new business to my knowledge. So next is correspondence requiring action. So we have the Mountain Heights Drive requested by Councillor Bateman, 11.1.
Yeah, so this was the first of a series of letters we received on this future rezoning. And I primarily want to ensure that as part of our package, when it does indeed come to that rezoning, since there will not be a public hearing.
There
Or would there?
maybe, I don't know.
Oh,
It could,
okay.
but I think it's, yeah, so the intention here is that this just go to a
the
public
package,
package
yeah.
for whenever that particular item comes forward. So that's the action for our staff.
Yeah, your worship, members of council, I don't believe there would be a public hearing because as long as the development is more than 50% residential. So in this case, it would be, there is some commercial proposed in this development, but it is a small proportion compared to the overall development.
So in that case, there wouldn't be a public hearing, but it'll be in the package. Okay. So then a motion to receive and
Yeah.
I don't know. Councillor Beddoes.
Yeah, I just like to go on record that that again, because of /Bill 44, that appalls me. That people, whether it goes through or not, it's another thing. But they should have the right to come and speak to us about it directly at a public hearing. So just want to be noted that that's a part about that bill that upsets me the most, so.
But I think on that, if it's on the agenda, then residents are able to speak to it as part of public input. We just can't have a public hearing. Like, it's such a gray. Yes, it's awkward because you want,
It is.
it's on our agenda, so then it should be open for public to comment, but then we have to not be perceived as having a public hearing.
Well, I know, but I mean, I guess the part that bothers me is we have to find a way to rejig it in order to get some sort of input. Where if we had a public hearing, people would have the opportunity to say what they need to say. And whether they're right or wrong or whatever it is, I'm firmly believer that's exactly what we should be doing as a government. But anyways, it is what it is. Thanks.
Mr. Marshall?
Yeah, just for council's information, as part of the development processes work that we did just before Christmas, we do have in our application processes that they have to have a public meeting, so it's not a formal public hearing, but they do have to have a public meeting as part of the process.
But that would be an event hosted by the developer at their location of their choosing on their time. So that's where, I mean, every developer should be encouraged to do that as they go through the process, but it doesn't mean that anything changes. They did, yeah. I appreciate what you're saying though, but I agree with Councillor Beddoes. Go ahead, Councillor Beddoes.
Yeah, for the second time, I guess what bothers me is I'm the elected representative here. And I'm excluded from that process unless I go to that meeting. And some developers, they're great. They like to work with us. Some don't. And when the public shows a great deal of concern like that, to me, it's important that they be heard in a venue like this as opposed to a venue that they put on. So I appreciate that there is going to be some feedback for the public. But, you know, we were elected to do that, and it bothers me that we're not. Thanks for your report, though.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so motion to receive. Moved by Councillor Bateman, seconded by Pearson. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Okay, 11.2 is public sign, also by Councillor Bateman.
Okay, so this is a preview of, I'm not sure when the staff report will come to us on the Barrie Marine sign. At December 9th meeting, we asked staff to write a report on actions the district can take to promote inclusivity and safety in the community based on the options presented in the email from Ebony Logans to council. And this will be at a future meeting. So here is 2 letters related to one particular sign that went up at Barrie Marine back in mid-November, post-Trump. The message read, as the photo in the package states, now Trump is in, can we get Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben back? So that was the message, which some would see as humorous and some would see as neutral and some would have questions about, and others, these 2 people who wrote us, were distinctly upset about it. One letter writer states, it is blatantly racist and we believe it violates the Human Rights Code, specifically as hate speech. The other individual states, there has to be something done. It makes our town less safe. It makes our town look backward and unwelcoming. And a lack of action by the District of Sauk is a sign of support of such speech. So those are absolutely valid comments. Is this message in fact hate speech? Well, interestingly, the Office of the Human Rights Commissioner has a FAQ on what is hate speech. And I'll quote a few sections. I think this may be part of your report, or I did request a section on hate speech. in this report. But quote, hate speech uses extreme language to describe the targeted group. It describes the group members as, quote, animals, subhuman, or genetically inferior. It suggests group members are behind a conspiracy to gain control by plotting to destroy Western civilization, denying, minimizing, or celebrating past persecution or tragedies that happened to group members. Labeling group members as child abusers, pedophiles, or criminals. I'm sorry to be using this language with a child in the room. Blaming group members for problems like crime and disease. Now, the BC Human Rights Commissioner does state these examples show how disgusting and extreme speech must be to be considered hate speech under the law. And she then states, she recognizes there is a lot of speech that is hurtful and offensive that is not captured under hate speech law. So that's basically a statement, and based on this sign, which I'll have more to speak about when we do get this report, which will look into the options the district has, legal opinions, the fact that this is a sign that is legally non-conforming. And I guess what my message tonight, without seeking anything other than to receive this for information, is that I hope Mr. Barry is paying attention. It seems so. In the last month, he has advertised the Santa Parade, and he's currently advertising a Beatles show at EMCS. He also has on the flip side of the sign this week a message that says, what is the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth? 6 months. And that, like many of the signs, it gives me pause for thought. And I do ponder these things. Yeah, it's fascinating. Interestingly, there was a conspiracy about the Beatles, circa Abbey Road, because Paul McCartney was on the cover of that album in bare feet, and a whole conspiracy theory expanded around he was dead. Paul was dead. Now, interestingly, Paul McCartney, age 21, completed his Get Back tour in front of 80,000 people in Buenos Aires just the other month. So he's not dead, and the truth is exactly that. Anyway, I don't mean to make light of these really valid concerns expressed by community members. We have other examples, just a few, over the last number of years that have created a lot of community disruption. And yeah, more to come on this subject. So I'll move receipt of the correspondence. Yeah.
I don't know where you read the last paper, where they have the bouquets, and
I missed that.
there's someone there that was saying, thanked Barry Marine for those comments on that sign.
With the Angelina and
Well, they just said that sign and all the information. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was interesting.
Maybe, Ms. Gray?
Just to answer Councillor Baton's question, I don't know if it was a question, statement. Next meeting, we are planning, excuse me, staff are planning on bringing back a report just with, obviously, apologies, I wasn't here for the meetings. I don't know the whole conversation. I watched back the meeting a bit, but yes, Christina and I will be connecting this week and getting a report ready for the next agenda item, just to start this conversation. And to your point, and the community and anyone listening, like, we absolutely take this seriously, and there's just only so much legally that the district can do for certain things. We'll be very clear and make sure everyone in the community understands what our boundaries are. But to your, point that you read about hate speech definition, like, I don't know that technically that would qualify as hate speech. I appreciate people don't like it, and ethically, morally, should he do it? That's a different conversation. But definitely, report will be coming on the 27th, just to get some information in front of council and get some feedback from council. And this is something, obviously, will not just die with this report. This is part of our foundation of Souk, is making sure people feel safe and welcome and want to join our community here. So more to come for sure.
No, thank you very much for that. It's a big change, because you have, when you look at signs that stand out amongst the highway, it's entering bear country, I believe. Souk's bear country is sort of the first one that stands out. Then you have welcome to Souk, and then you have compassionate community in and amongst some cheery notes at Souk Elementary. I don't remember them all, but they make you laugh, and then it's like groan, depending, so may not be hate speech, but not accepting and loving and welcoming either. It's quite the opposite of that. And this isn't the first time. So, and it has created disharmony, so it certainly is trending in that particular direction, but I do look forward to receiving the report. Yes?
Yeah, just one thing I failed to mention here, the Souk Multi-Belief Initiative wrote the News Mirror at the time of the Bud Light sign back in September 22. And this was by Mark Ziegler on behalf of the SMBI, and he wrote, "I respect the right of the owners of Barrie Marine to put whatever message on the sign that he chooses, as long as it does not violate the hate laws of Canada. The reason that I am disturbed is that the message has mean-edged sarcasm, which does not reflect the compassionate and respectful attitude which characterizes our community. It implies intolerance of people who may have a different lifestyle from most Souk residents." So that was in relation to the Bud Light sign.
Thank you for that, Councillor Bateman. Okay, so I'll turn to you to move receipt for now. Yeah. Moving receipt and seconded by Councillor Beddoes, all in favor. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Next up is 11.3. This is one for the Wounded Warrior Run. This is an annual event that occurs and has been, the Souk portion of it has been carried out now for a number of years. So that is scheduled now to take place on February the 2nd. You may have received an invite to that event starting off at the Legion. And I know that some of their fundraisers are already in town. And then this is for the gala dinner on the 1st. So I thought we've been invited to meet with that team. And then they've asked for a funding contribution here. So I thought I would just bring this forward for consideration. Thoughts, Councillor Beddoes?
How much money do we have in our sponsorship fund, please, staff? Oh, brand new. Yeah, well, give me, yeah.
In the sponsor, I believe the annual budget's $5,000 in sponsorship. Or 2,500
Can you tell me what we gave them last year?
for the same thing? Was it the same event?
Yeah, I think we sponsored them last year, I believe. I don't know, I'm asking.
We did, but I
We
don't
did.
remember what the amount was, and the ask is 2,500. I don't remember what we funded. Maybe it was 2,000 last year. 2,000 is what I'm hearing. But our sponsorship budget, I think, is 5,000, like for the
Yeah,
year.
that's a lot out of there, so. I'd be inclined to give them something. I'm just trying to get an amount in my head. We don't have the amount that we had last year, is that correct?
I personally don't know off the top of my head. Rose wouldn't have been here, so she won't remember. I'm just looking to see if I can find it in last year's agenda, because this came in front of council last year,
About
right?
the same time, yeah.
Yeah.
Won't cost me $50,000.
We can,
Sure, yeah, we could table it if you want, and just give us a second to look into
Yep.
what we may have paid them before.
Yeah.
Because I
sure.
believe it's
Yeah.
around 2,000, but yeah, to your point, I don't remember exactly, just.
so we'll just motion to table this to following item 13. Okay, motion to table by Councillor Bateman, seconded by Beddoes, all in favor. It's carried unanimously. So we have no items removed to discuss tonight. So we'll move on to verbal reports. Go ahead, Councillor Beddoes, please.
Yeah, we did all sorts of things in the last month, but it's just been a blur. Turkey poisoning mainly. Just at the Sea Park, we had a fairly brief meeting, but two things came out of it. One is the facility down there is just booming. As a matter of fact, I had a difficult time getting parking for the Sea Park meeting. I had to go park in the gravel at the far end of it. The other thing is in February, we are canceling our Sea Park meeting, and we're going to have a 3 to 4 hour workshop and have a look at all the data from our consultant and give some direction as to where we're going at Sea Park for recreation over the next decade or so. So we are moving along. We had a bit of a hiccup there, but it is progressing and everybody's anxious to get on with it. That's about it. Thanks.
Thank you. Counselor Pearson, did I see your hand? Go ahead, please.
I attended as the council liaison for the Sauk Regional Historical Society meeting this week. And we will be getting a letter and requesting that we declare October 30th, hang on a sec. Heritage Week is coming up and we're going to get a letter asking us to declare Heritage Week. And we'll have some more information from Michelle when she gets that to us. It should come, I think it should almost be here before this meeting tonight, but maybe not. It was interesting to go to the first meeting, which I hadn't been since I think Councillor Beddoes was the chairperson. I think it was the last time I was there. So lots of good work by our Regional Historical Society, lots of work planned. They went over their strategic plan. Lots of interesting things and events. They're going to ramp up their engagement in the community with things like the float in the Santa Claus parade. So, you know, lots more. The new executive director is actually very energetic, taking things out. They've reached out, the president is Donnie Eve. And they've reached out to, or they're planning on reaching out to Telegraph Cove, where the museum, you know, the Whale Interpretive Center burnt down, which is a huge loss for that community. To see where Sauk potentially could assist them, you know, with exhibits and things like that to help them. So that's a sad day for Telegraph Cove, and the meaning of that of a museum in your community is deeply entrenched, and it brings a lot of people together. So, and ours is a fabulous example. So, and then the other thing that I have to report this week is that I attended as the alternate rep for the Community CRD Arts Commission, and I got on a little bit late because my Zoom meeting, I had to drive from my house to here to get it fixed, and then it came up there. But I'll let Councillor Bateman, who is the rep on that committee. It was interesting to hear about the granting process, how it works. Good discussion, very robust discussion, actually, in an hour time frame. So we learned a lot. That's it for me, and Happy New Year, everyone.
Counselor Bateman.
Yeah, for me, I guess looking back to December 9th, our last meeting, it was very lengthy and enjoyable break. There was the Sauk Christmas party to attend, which was delightful as ever. I did meet by request with several potential candidates for our upcoming by-election and shared some of my thoughts. There was a meeting of the Sauk Multi-Belief Initiative. We are planning to again host an all candidates forum for the by-election in April, if indeed it goes ahead in April. I produced an annual report for the Victoria Family Court and Youth Justice Committee, which will be presented at next week's annual general meeting. Kevin and I were at Councillor Pearson and I were at the CRD Arts Commission. So last year, there is $2.5 million worth of arts funding for municipalities that buy into the service. Now, Sauk, thanks to Brenda Parkinson, is one of those 9 municipalities. And last year, thanks to Dana Lajeunesse, in fact, who was my predecessor, he got out and made contact with a number of groups, and 8 Sauk groups last year received funding. And yeah, so this is a really valuable program. Sauk's part of it, and there's money there for events, capacity building, and other key functions. Today I attended the first meeting of the Village Initiative's Municipal Leaders Advisory Team at Colwood City Hall. And I think you all know about TVI from the delegations by Cindy Andrew. It's a very unique regional network of more than 60. They're up to now 60 Sauk and West Shore organizations working with children, youth, and families. And this is an opportunity to bring Metchosin, Colwood, Langford, and Sauk together to coordinate the early preview of amalgamation, as one person said today. And she's developed, Ms. Andrews developed the terms of reference and will be meeting quarterly. Now, I'm not sure who will be our appointee. I attended on your behalf today. However, I guess we'll figure that out. Yeah. And yeah. And looking ahead, there's the, as I say, the Victoria Family Court AGM. CRD Arts Commission has its first meeting of the year on January 22nd. This Thursday, I'm attending the West Shore Arts and Culture meeting where we're discussing the potential West Shore Arts facility of regional significance, meaning 1,000+ seats. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. Just a few comments. Yes, Sea Park is really busy. I think one highlight was they had only 1 hour where nothing was planned in the multi-purpose room. And every other available time has been booked and hitting capacity with different activities from Pilates to all the varying programs. The ice is also booked nonstop, and that Zamboni driver, like, you know, the gate opens and they come out and the next team is in and out. So sometimes I think it is busy, especially with younger players when you have 2 games on half ice. So now you have two teams, 2 sets of parents, whereas maybe older it's 2 teams on 1 full ice as opposed to 4 teams on the ice with everybody coming out. And then you have the fitness room and everything else, but they're doing a great job. And that's why this strategic planning is so important moving forward, and how we can work together to continually grow the necessary recreation. It is busy in there. Love the work the museum is doing, particularly with the storyboard walks. It's a great way to explore the grounds with our younger generation and just to see different things in a different way. So thanks for your work there, and to the museum staff as well. The trail connection that we've done from the Ball Diamond of Sea Park going up the hill is a big win for Sooke Elementary. So for those students to be able to come and access the facility safely without going down the highway or all the way to Charters, like it is a straight shot up and down and a more enjoyable one. So I really appreciate the work that's been done there. I heard through the grapevine that Poye School has launched the walking school bus program. Sometimes only 6 families in the past have signed up, as over 30 have signed up with the mustering to be here in John Phillips at Municipal Hall. So it's growing in popularity, and it's working for parents to not have to deal with the congestion, but to walk, to drop here, and then for kids to have an enjoyable and easy walk to school, to and from every day, which is excellent because, as you may know, the school buses are busy and there's also a fee associated, with the school bus. And if you're out of catchment, you don't have one. So it's important that, and now these trails are being used. So it'll be also exciting to see that happen on the other side with Little River, with Poye students being able to walk, and then many Journey students who currently ride the bus may also now not need to. Some walk all the way to Journey, but it's about a 35-minute walk in each direction. And others will continue to take the bus, which, as my young child says, they take up all the space because the little ones are sitting 3 to a seat, but they sit 1 or 2. So it'll be interesting to see. He'll be walking. Sorry, Ewan. I also like that we're supporting and launching the Hangout Night at Sooke Family Resource Center. So it's a place for young people to gather together. And you also see those signboards that Sea Park is also doing kids night and other teen nights and drop in as well for recreation, but also knowing that there's always been another need for that. So that's growing here in Sooke as well. And then in terms of the by-election, council may recall that when we received that report last year, we postponed that report to come to the second meeting in January. So not tonight, but 2 weeks from tonight. And for the public that's interested, that was because we still had a Canada Post strike on. We did discuss human resources needed. And also that means that the nomination would have happened over the holidays. So that's maybe not a fun way to spend Christmas, campaigning. Maybe disappointment when a candidate is at the door and not a package from the North Pole or something else. So that was our rationale. And the landscape continues to change, but in our next meeting, we can discuss that again and see where we go. So that is just for those interested. That is where we are at this particular moment in time. And then as for myself, I just thank everyone for the work that we've been doing. It was a busy end of the year, family changes within our household and a seemingly exciting year for 2025 with significant projects. And as you know, we'll be heading into a federal election at some point. So we'll see what that looks like. And for those who may have said that I shouldn't be serving, because everyone knows, or maybe not everyone knows, but I am a candidate or will be a candidate in the federal election. If I had taken a leave, then we wouldn't have a meeting tonight. No quorum. So we have work to do, and I'll split my personality to cover off what I need to do, but my focus is on Suk and the service here and the work that we're doing. And the rest I'll figure out as I need to. So on that note, I'm going to return back to our tabled item. We'll put it back on the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Apologies initially. I was getting this one confused with another sponsorship thing we do. The Wounded Warrior Run, the last time we sponsored it with money was in 2022. They asked for $2,750. We gave them $2,000 as a sponsorship. $750 we contributed towards renting a sign, I believe. You know, again, traffic was a problem, so I'm assuming that was part of it. And then for 2023 and 2024, the district contribution was more in kind from staff support with communications and comms and all of that was more the support, at least from what I can find right now. So in 2022, we gave them $2,000, I guess, and then rented a sign as well. But that's what they were asking for at the time. This maybe things have changed slightly over the years here.
And that might have been because that was the first time that this relay included Suk. It was always taking place previously. And then I believe it was the late Brenda Parkinson that said, you know, you really need to include Suk in these things. And they listened. And I think that was when it first launched, that leg of it launched out of Suk. So back to Councillor Bados.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we sponsor them for $1,000.
Okay, moved out of the
6,000.
sponsorship fund?
Yes, correct.
So
I'll second.
1,000 out of sponsorship, seconded by Councillor Pearson. Would you like to speak to it?
Well, it's just a segment of our population, our society that has given so much and suffering a lot. So I think that we should stand up and be counted. And so I'm proud to make that motion.
Thank you. Councillor Pearson, any comments?
No.
Okay, anything from Councillor Bateman?
I would just say, I say no, and then I start. That this is indicative of our ongoing support of multiple groups. This one in particular, as well as kids sport, which was interesting to me that in the Times Colonist, kids sport just pre-Christmas ran a full page ad and thanked its sponsors. The one local government was the District of Suk in the CRD. So again, I know we spend $1 million close to on community support and permissive tax exemptions. And yet, yeah, this is great.
Okay, I'll call the question then. All those in favor, please. And that's carried unanimously. And so that'll bring us to item 14, which is a motion to adjourn the closed meeting so that council close the meeting to the public pursuant to the following subsection of the community charter. It's 90I, the receipt of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. And that is the time being, what is it, 7:04? Okay, moved by Counselor Bateman and seconded by Counselor Beddoes. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. So good night to those viewing online, and council, we can take a 10-minute recess and I'll see you back here. Thank you.